So, hey, Ola, good to see you here, right? So that's what I want. I want you guys, I'm here looking at you in the chat, right? I want you guys to say hello. So tell me where you're watching this from, right? So tell me what's going on right now. So where are you? Just start with that, right? So tell me where are you watching this from, so we can have a good conversation here, right? So the whole idea for us here today is that we can have a conversation and help you move your career forward, right? So and why you telling me where you're from, right? How about you tell me what is your biggest challenge that you're facing right now in your developer career, right? So what is your biggest difficulty that you're facing right now, or even better, right? What is your biggest dream? What is it you want to achieve in your career? So tell me on the chat right there, so we can have we can start having a conversation here. My idea here is to help you overcome whatever problem you're going through right now, so you can do a next step in your career, right? Because the whole thing about securing our future, right? The whole discussion about securing our future is really um you know it's it's one thing what happens around us, right? So I know right now in Ukraine, for example, things are crazy, right? There's no control. I mean, you can't really control what other people do. You can't control what happens, but you can control what you do, right? How you look at those things, right? How you find an opportunity for you to keep improving your career. And people are all over the world, right? We face challenges every single day. We face challenges in our career, right? We face challenges in our family, right? Maybe there are people there with sick relatives, or maybe they're unemployed, or maybe they don't know what to do, right? Maybe they're thinking that they're going to get unemployed in the near future, right? Maybe you're going through a difficult disease right now, right? And so all of these are problems, right, that happen, and a lot of those things we can't control, right? And then but we can control what we think about it, what we do for our careers, right? So this is the thing that we're going to discuss. When we talk about the future, right, securing our future, how do we secure our careers, right? How do we secure whatever's going to happen? We can't control the world, right? But how do we secure our careers? How do we plan our careers forward, right? So uh, um, this is one of the things that I'd like to say. So I see here, so T is from Kiev, right? So hey T, how are you doing? Oleg is also in Kiev, right? I see Taras, right, is from Berlin, Germany, right? Building distributed data platform that's scalable and suitable for cross-functional product teams. That's a very big challenge, right? So Yevon from Kiev, right? So Sven from Germany. So come on, tell me, what is your biggest challenge? What are you struggling with right now? Why you might think that your career is not secure, right? So what is the thing that you are worried about, right? Ola from Kiev says Bodan. So hey Bodan, how you doing, man? That's great. Okay, so that's all good. Now let me just tell for the guys here from the audio and video. Um, I know that was last minute, but I did bring a guest. And if he's around, whenever he's ready, if you wanna bring him in here, or just let me know that he's around, that would be a good thing to know, right? Because I'm not sure if he is there. I can see the chat here from the internal chat. So if you guys can let me know, and so that I can have a little conversation with him if he's available, right? Okay. So and um, yes, I know he's asking me on the other side here if he can join. Yes, he can join anytime he can right now. All right, so let me start talking about here in terms of secure. Right, so there's a few things I want to tell you in terms of career. The most important thing about your career, right? And we sometimes we forget about that, but in reality, we are always tuned to that. The most important thing of our career is our reputation, right? Reputation, is the thing that we always strive for, that we all work with, right? We're always trying to get a better reputation or a good reputation, right? So reputation is the most important thing that we have in our career. Why? Because once we have a good reputation, right? That's when we get good jobs. That's when people want to work with us. That's when people give us interesting problems to solve, right? That's when good things happen to us, right? So even when we make mistakes, right? If you have a good reputation, even if you make mistakes, people will treat that in a better way, right? Because it's a mistake, right? That always reminds me of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? I'm not sure if you have read that movie. I mean, read the book or seen that movie, right? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There is one rule, right? Is that when you're traveling around the universe, is that you have to bring your towel with you. Why? Why you have to bring your towel with you? There's lots of reasons, but one of the reasons I have to bring your towel with you is because of reputation, right? Because if you bring your towel with you, people will assume on space travel we're talking about here, right? So that's the space travel book, right? So on space travel, if you bring your towel with you, people can assume that you are that you are a person that takes care of your things, right? So they're going to be more willing to help you and give you the things that you missed, or that you lost, or they were stolen for you during the trip, right? So having your towel with you, it's always important. Why? Because of reputation, right? And remember, right? The Nerds Day is Towel Day, right? Because we all, so that's how important reputation is, guys. Reputation is the most important thing. I was actually reading an article the other day, talking about scientists, right? It's a very, very interesting article, by the way, right? It talks about why some scientists are genius and others are not, right? And in the end, the whole discussion, there's a research done with more than 6 million, curriculums of scientists all over the world, right? From past history, including. So, and that research found out that the difference between a genius and a non-genius is not the work they did, is the reputation they have, right? In the end, is the reputation. So reputation is the most important thing in our careers, right? So when you talk about securing our future, we have to have a good reputation, right? That means we have to be ethical. We have to to do the right things, right? We have to be good technically, right? There's a lot of things we got to do to get good reputation, right? Because reputation it's not one thing. It's not like, oh, I give talks, I have a good reputation. No, or I do good work, right? And I do I solve problems with technology, right? Then I have a good reputation. That's not. Reputation is a mix of things, right? It's a mix. It's quality of your work. Is also people knowing you. So I like to use 3 words, right? They're similar, but a little bit different. One is reputation. The other one is trust. Reputation and trust have everything to do with each other, right? When you have a good reputation because people trust you, right? When you do good work, when you're honest and you're sincere, you have a good communication, right? You help people. All of these builds trust, right? So to have a good reputation, people need to trust you. And trust, guys, is extremely important, right? I think I mentioned this here last year I was here, right? Trust. I have this 5 sentence of career development, right? That I think is important, right? So when you share what you know, people know what you know, and they trust you on what you know. And because they trust you on what you know, when they need what you know, they call you and not someone else. Make sense? Right? So trust is amazing important. So if you want to secure your career, people need to trust you. Because when they trust you, they call you. Right? So it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter, if your company goes bankrupt, or if you for some reason there's a financial problem, you have to and you get laid off, right? It doesn't matter if you get tired of your work and you leave. It doesn't matter if you if if, for example, there is an ethical problem, you can't stand that company anymore, right? It doesn't matter what happens, right? If you have trust, there's always going to be someone that's going to call you and invite you to work on amazing jobs, right? So trust is amazing important. It has everything to do with reputation, right? You have a good reputation because people trust you. So because people trust you, you have a good reputation, right? And reputation is everything in our careers. And that's what secures our future, right? In terms of career. So now the thing is, uh, people cannot see you. I mean, people cannot trust you. Sorry. People cannot trust you if they don't see you, right? So there's another word I like to use is visibility. So visibility is fundamental. Why? Because if I don't see you, how can I trust you? Right? So see you is not necessarily seeing you with my eyes, right? Seeing you is actually see what you do, right? I need to know that you exist. I need to know that you're doing good work, right? I need to know that you're a good person, that you're doing ethical work, that you are actually putting the effort. I need to see that. I need to see you to trust you so you can have a good reputation, right? So those three words, they're slightly different, but they mean similar things, right? When you have a good visibility, people trust you, and because they trust you, you have good reputation, right? And you know, uh, uh, if your reputation is a bad reputation because people are seeing you, and what you're doing is a bad thing, right? So then your reputation goes down. So it's all connected. They're different things, but they're all connected, right? I see lots of good questions here. I see Nick said there's a challenge, and I'm going to talk about his challenge right now. And Oleg says you still can get a free mentoring session with me, right? So if you do a donation, right? So yes, don't miss that chance. And by the way, let me tell you this, guys. When I talk with Oleg, I want to say this really quick. When I talk to Oleg, and we agreed, I was going to do some special mentoring and everything. I've been thinking here. I want to do something amazing, right? I really want to do something amazing, right? So so come on, if you want to join me in that effort, right, or to really get an awesome reputation for you, right? So by all means, do that, right? So this is um so that's the most important thing, guys. If you want to secure your future, you need to have a good reputation. That is the most important thing in your career, right? And so you have to build that. I was talking to a mentee of mine, right, just a couple of days ago, right? And he asked me, he said, Bruno, I have a problem, right? I'm invisible inside my company, right? So I don't have visibility. I'm invisible, right? I do a lot of work. When there was before the pandemic, that's what he told me. Before the pandemic. Okay. So what I was saying is that visibility, right? So just kind of just get back a little a minute here, just so we can get here, right? So and then I'm gonna start answering the question, right? So um, reputation, right, is fundamental for your career. For you to get a reputation, people need to trust you. When people trust you, you get a reputation. But if they don't see you, right, then there's no trust and no reputation, right? So I was talking about a friend of mine, a mentee of mine, that he was telling me just a couple of days ago, saying that before the pandemic, he would go to his team, and he would be there. People would see him working. He would see other people working. He would talk to people. But now that he had to work remote, he was unable to have visibility because he did not know how to do that, right? So basically, the only thing that people saw him was when he complained, right? So while he was doing his work, no one was seeing what he was doing. But when other people did something that he thought was wrong, he would complain about it. So everyone was going to see his, the visibility he had was a bad visibility, right? And he suffered a lot on his career because his reputation went down, right? Because people stopped trusting him because the only thing they saw of him was the bad parts, right? So yeah, so those three things are connected, right? So now let's use those three things here to uh, let's do these three things here to um, really talk about, right? The question that you guys are asking here, right? So and I just want to publicly apologize, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine, Vadim, right? I actually even wrote an email about him today. But I was talking to my friend Vadim, and he made an effort to try to be here with me, but I mess up, right? And so now he can't join me because of me. So thanks, Vadim, for trying, right? And apologize. Maybe we can work on something. Me and you later on. We do a webinar together, right? So sorry, it was my fault. He wasn't. I wasn't sure that he was going to be able to join. I didn't talk with the guys from the organization, so it did not work. But we're gonna get more of this. So let's talk about the questions here. So Tara says, right, building data distributed platforms that are scalable and suitable for cross-functional product teams, right? So that's Tara's challenge, right? So it's a technical challenge. It's very, very normal, Taras, that we think that the most challenging thing in our career is the technical part. But let me tell you one thing: you guys are awesome on the technical part, right? You know how to do that, right? You know how to learn things. You spend your whole life learning things, solving puzzles, and maybe playing video games that had challenging things to do, right? You learn a software development and programming and things like distributed data platforms, right? Scalable, cross-functional product teams. I mean, you learned that stuff, right? And I think you know very well how to solve those challenges, right? You need to look at the problem to see what the real problem is, right? And then you look at the code to see what needs to be fixed, what needs to be adjusted, right? So that's how we do, right? So to solve problems, we really look at the code to find out where the problem is, right? Exactly what's going on, what's the wrong thing that's going on, right? But and then once we understand exactly what's the wrong things to do, we work to fix that, right? So we use technology, we use programming languages, we talk to other people, we find a way to fix that problem. So we're good at that. We're good at solving problems. But a lot of times, Tara, we don't apply the same strategies to our careers, right? So we forget that we need visibility, that we need to have a good reputation, that people need to trust us in our careers, right? So that's very important, Tadas. They need to look and see, okay, so what is wrong on my career? What is preventing me from doing what I want, right? What is preventing me from doing what I need, right? And so that is that is very important again, right? And so all right, so oh, I'm not frozen. Okay, I froze for a minute, so it looks like I'm back. Okay, good. So I thought I was disconnected again. So Tara, a lot of times we don't use the same strategy of solving problems to our careers. So look around, Tara. Look what's wrong. Where do you want to achieve? Where do you want to get? Right? How high do you want to get in your career? Right? Do you want do you want a bigger salary? Do you want more challenging things to do? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a more technical person? What is the dream, Tara? What is it you want? And how can you, what's the problem? Two things you need to do. What's the dream and what's the problem? What is preventing you today, Tara, from achieving that dream? Is the lack of knowledge? Is the lack of skills? Is the things that they're going wrong, right? So what's preventing you from from achieving that, right? So I want you to tell me, Todd, because I don't know, right? Try to think about what is the thing that you don't know how to do, right? That's what this mentee I was talking to about, right? He told me, he said, Bruno, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to get my visibility back, right? To get my reputation good again, right? So no, so what is the thing that you're going through, Taras? So Nick says the challenge, uh, meet team of experts, right? Hard and soft skills, a team who understand offense, tools and process, instead of just using them, right? For instance, understand what value of Scrum and not use just because someone said me to use it, right? People who understand why we use that or another tool instead of just using it. Okay, so Nick wants to meet a team of experts, right? So if Nick wants to meet a team of experts, right, he wants visibility, right? He wants to be trusted by other experts. So then Nick can really work on amazing project because he was going to be working with people that know those things. So here, Nick, how do you do that? How do you get visibility with other experts? My suggestion to you, Nick, is uh, um, is go help them, right? Go help people that are like exactly like that you just described. So imagine someone that knows why they should use things, right? Someone that knows, that knows technology. Someone that you would like to work with, Nick. How can you provide some help for them? You might think, Bruno, I don't know. Those guys know everything. So how can I help them? Well, let me give you one suggestion, right? So just so you can start thinking about it, right? So people that a lot of people, a lot of experts like that, Nikki, a lot of experts like that, they are working on open source projects, for example, right? So I had a friend. I need to find them first. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So no, you don't need to find them first, Nick, because you know who they are. You know who you want to work with, right? They exist, right? They're visible. That's why you know they exist, right? So who are they? So for example, I have this good friend of mine, Mani Sarkar, right? So Mani has his open source project, right? So another friend of mine, Hugo, said, Bruno, this Mani is a super cool guy. So how can I help him? And I said, well, how about you help Money on his open source project? He has an open source project, right? Hugo, you can just go there and help him out. That's exactly what Hugo did, right? So he went on, he volunteered to help Money on his open source project. So now they're friends, right? So now they're actually working together on a cool project because Hugo is helping Money advance his project. Make sense? Right? So then Nick says, but changing teams, companies could take some time. I'm not even proposing that, Nick. I don't think, Nick, you should change companies. Right? Why? Because the best place for you to have visibility and have a great reputation is where? Is where you're working right now. Because those people already know you, right? You're already working with them. So it's a lot easier for you to get their trust. So you should be visible outside of your company, Nick, right? And then because you should put your reputation everywhere, internationally, if it's possible. Because what happens, Nick, is when you do that, then other people, remember what I said before, right? If you share what you know, visibility, if you share what you know, right? Other people know what you know. And because they know what you know, they trust you in what you know. Trust, right? And when they need what you know, they call you and not someone else. Make sense, Nick? Right? So if you share what you know, people trust you in what you know, and they call you, you have a good reputation. So you don't need to change companies. You need to go work with amazing people right now where you are. Find amazing people in your team, find amazing people in your city, find amazing people in your country, find amazing people in the world, go work with them, right? And then whoever wants you, they're going to call you, right? And you might even be called to another company if you want, right? If that's something that you want to do, but you don't have to, right? um and then I so okay, as usual, serve the needs of other people. If you satisfy the needs, they will need you. It's more like, look, um, it's not about satisfying other people's need, Nick. I just want to clarify that, right? People need a lot of things. They already need, right? A lot of things. And so, but you know, let me just say this, for example. Imagine, Nick, that you need to learn a new technology, right? So, your boss told you, say, Nick, you need to learn new technology for tomorrow, right? So I need you to go take a look about this thing here for tomorrow, right? And so you could go, you have a need, right? You have a need, and then what you do, you could think about, well, I'm gonna where I'm gonna go to that, right? Maybe you like to read, for example. You say, you know what, I'm going to buy a book about this technology so I can read today. So by tomorrow, I'm going to have an idea what it is so I can go talk to the customer, right? So if you need to buy a book right now, Nick, where would you go, right? You know, you probably would go to Amazon, because then you can buy an online book and get you in your Kindle immediately, or maybe some other library that right. So that's what when you have a need. I need to buy a book, right? You know where to go. Why? Because Amazon is visible. Because Amazon, you know about them, you trust them. I do, at least, right? When we talk about books, right? I do trust Amazon, for example, right? It's just an example. So so that's the same thing that you got to do for yourself, Nick, right? Make yourself visible and share what you know to build trust, right? That's perfect. So that's what you do to get a great team. For you to be, let's say, Nick, for you to be part of a team of experts, what needs to happen? People need to see you as an expert, right? They need to say, hey, you know what? We need an expert on this team here. Let's call Nick, right? So when you're visible, Nick, they're going to call you. If you're not visible, they can't call you. And they're not going to call you, Nick, because you don't serve a need, right? Because you do. You know that stuff, for example, right? They're not going to call you because it's because they don't trust you. Because on their point of view, you don't have a reputation. Not because you're not good, Nick, not because you don't understand their stuff, but because they don't know about you. You're not visible. Make sense? So if you want to do that, if you want to secure your career, you have to be visible, guys. There's no way out, right? So Mary saying, thanks, Taras. Thanks for a great question about Apache Pulsar. That's awesome. Thanks a lot. So Taras says here, one could scale. Oops, got the chat here. So Taras says here, one could scale technology. However, as a human being, we have limits to which we can scale our own communication. What would you recommend for scaling communication beyond such physical limits? Well, interesting thing, Taras, is that communication, it's very scalable, right? We right now, I'm here sitting in Brazil, and you guys are everywhere in the world, right? I saw Germany, I saw Ukraine, I saw Brazil, I saw lots of people here in the chat saying other different things, right? So, there's people all over the world, right? Isn't this scaling communication, right? And actually, this is being recorded. So you guys might be watching this, I don't know, a week from now, right? You might be watching this a year from now, right? So we are actually not only allowing lots of people to communicate, right? We're allowing the communication to go through time, right? So yes, communication is very important. Now, what you're saying is, we need to communicate inside the team, right? So how do we scale the communication inside the team? That, Stata, is what we call the Conway's Law, right? I actually wrote an article in my blog, right? So if you go to code4.life, I'm gonna say here, let me say here in the chat, right? So if you go to HTTPS code4.life/blog, right? You're going to be able to see an article that I wrote about the Conway's Law and communication. So here's the thing, Tata, that connects both things, right? Connects the thing you're talking about and what Nico's talking about in terms of visibility. Conway's Law states that the system, right, will conform to the organization, right? So basically, if you're working on a project and you are a team of people working in the same room, right? Then basically, you're gonna end up being a monolith, right? Because your team is a monolith. Everyone works together, right? So you're basically gonna end up developing a monolith. But if your team is distributed, right, you're basically gonna end up with a microservice because the software boundaries will respect the communication boundaries of the team. So if I have to call you, right, schedule a meeting with you for us, for me to send you some information in my software, right? Then there's probably going to be an API between my code and your code. But if you're sitting side by side, right, we're probably going to be working on the same piece of code, right? So that's basically the idea. So Conway's law shows what? That whatever communication means that we have in our team, that's going to affect our architecture of our project. That's going to affect the quality and the way we develop a software based on the communication of the team. So one important thing, so you can apply that both ways, right, Tara? So you can think about, so how do I scale? I want to build a microservice. How do I scale communication? Well, it's similar to how you scale software, right? You break things in pieces and you give each piece to different teams. So now you can have, instead of just having one team of 5 people develop the whole software, now you can have 5 teams of 5 people each one develop their own piece of software. So now the software gets more sophisticated, right? Because there's more people working on it, there's more functionality being developed on it, but the communication is still happening on between those 5 people from the team, and then there are going to be interfaces between each one of those. That's what a microservice is, right? That's what on Amazon they call the 2 pizzas team, right? The whole idea that you should have the team should be small enough for you be able to order 2 pizzas and feed everyone, right? So that's about maybe 5 to 10 people, right? Whatever, depending on the size of the pizza, maybe, right? But so small teams doing work together and interface with other teams. That's what Conway's law proposed, right? So you can apply that. So Tata says, I use inverse Conway's maneuver, right? Okay, cool. All right. So now one interesting thing, Tata, is that I want to point out is the following, right? Why microservice right now? Why are we doing microservice right now, right? What's important on microservice today, right? Basically, if you're looking at people are still debating, is Moore's law gonna end or not end, right? So are the ships still gonna be faster? And then we're always having this new improvement in chip technology. Then we can always do a little bit more, and the Moore's law continues to work, right? We saw that, right? But the reality, Tata, is that Moore's law has already ended. Because for the last, I don't know, like 7 years or 6 years or something like this, for the last maybe 10 years, I don't remember exactly the time frame, but for the last several years, the speeds of a single thread in a ship has not changed much. It's not doubling anymore like it was before, right? So that means, what does that mean? It means that now, for us to have more processing power, what do we need? We need parallel threading, right? We need several threads in the same ship, right? That's why we have, ships that are multi-threaded, right? For many, many years, right? We have multi-threaded ships, right? With 16, 32, 64 threads on the same ship, right? Now, this also applies to our software, right? Because the way we do, remember the way back when companies had one big server, right? Now we don't have one big server anymore. We have lots of machines, right? Why we have lots of machines? Because the speed of a single computer is not enough anymore, right? So then what happens is we need to have distributed systems. That's where your question beginning, right? We need to build distributed systems to really use the power that we need to use, right? So that's why, because we cannot just rely on, every couple of years the processing power doubling, and don't need to do anything, right? No, we need to build systems that are parallel, they're working in parallel, right? And because of that, that's why we have this boom of parallel applications. That's why we have this boom of cloud computing in the last several years, right? Why? Because now just waiting for the processor to be improved, that's not enough anymore, right? And with that in mind, what happens if our systems have to be parallel, you have to be separated, then the team has to be parallel and separated. That's Conway's law. If we put everyone together working the same thing, we're going to keep doing monolith applications, right? But if you do monolith applications, we require one big computer instead of multiple distributed systems. So we have to divide the teams to build distributed systems so we can use the power that we need to serve our customers. So that's the environment that we're going on right now. Very complicated. That's why DevOps is so great, because now teams are distributed, right? That's why cloud computing is exploding, because now teams need to be distributed. So all of those things happen for a reason, Tara. And so Conway's law is right there in the middle of all these things, right? So what do you think about Simon Sinek's concept of circle of safety? Well, I know Simon Sinek's golden circle idea, right? So, and the golden circle idea is an awesome idea for you to think about your career, by the way, right? So we actually do that. We do workshops on the golden circle. I'm not sure about the circle of safety, Tara. So I'm not really sure about if it's the same thing or not, right? So if it's not, sorry about that. But the whole idea of Simon Sinek's golden circle, right, is you have those three concentric circles here, and you start with Y in the middle here, right? And then on the second circle, you have the house, right? And on the third circle, you have the watts, right? So basically, once you know why you do things, that's the most important part of it, right? So once you know why you do things and how you do things, you can do a lot of what's, right? And connect with why you do things. So your why is your life's purpose, right? It's the reason why you do everything. And your how is how you do everything. There's a phrase that says, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So now your what's are many things, right? You can have many, many what's, right? So your blog is a what, your job is a what, right? Your hobbies, right, are what's, right? Your hobbies are what's, right? Everything. Let's say you have your own company, right? Your company is a what, right? So you have lots of what's, but once you know your why and you connect your why to all your what's, right? Then you're going to be extremely, that's how you build an amazing career, right? So you start with the why, and then you can build this whole thing. Make sense? So so Tarek sent me a link here. So maybe she's just telling me that's not the same thing that she's asking here. So oh, okay. All right. So so I didn't know that he called this the circle of safety, Tara. So that's good. Thanks a lot, right? So yes, basically the idea that Simon Sinek talks a lot, right, is the whole idea of we feeling safe, right? So it's very hard for you to be, for you to be yourself, right? It's very hard for you to be yourself when you don't feel safety, right? You don't trust. You see trust again, right? If you don't trust your company, right, that your company is doing the right thing, that your boss is doing the right thing, that your team is doing the right thing, that they have they have you and your best interest in mind. If you don't trust them, or if they don't trust you, so then you have an unsafe environment, right? Because then you cannot, you cannot ask a question, for example. You cannot make a mistake, right? Because if you are in an untrustworthy environment, you can't make a mistake. That's why the family is so important to teach us, right? Because the family is supposed to be a safe place, right? Where we can be ourselves, right? Even though we have some struggles, but we're not gonna, no one in your family is gonna fire you, for example, right? So we can learn how to work together on a place where we can be ourselves, right? So now, if you're doing this in the work, right? If you don't feel safe, how can you do a good work, right? How can you do how can you uh, um, you know advance things? How can you experiment things, right? If you feel like if you make a mistake, you're going to be fired, for example, or people are going to yell at you, right? So all of these, safety in the workspace is extremely important, but not only in the workspace, right? With your friends, right? You might feel safe with your friends, and then you can be yourself, right? So that's why it's so important to understand why you do things. Because once you know why you do things, Tara, you can connect with people that believe what you believe, with companies that believe what you believe, right? With friends that believe what you believe. You can attract to you people that believe what you believe. Make sense, Tara? And then that creates a sense of security, exactly because you feel you are working with people that believe what you believe. Okay, so that's the connection between the circle of safety and Simon's why, the golden circle. So here is the golden circle, right? Okay, so let me go back here because I think I skipped some questions in the beginning. So Nicola or Mikola says that my dream position is a Java system architect. Okay, so Nicola, so how do you become an architect? How do you become a specialist? How do you become someone that's so how you do what you love to do, right? Again, is the whole thing about being visible, right? There's a few things. I'm talking about visibility here, right? But together with visibility, trust, reputation, I already said here, you need skills, right? If you don't have the skills, then there's nothing that you can do, right? So you need your Java skills, you need your architecture skills, right? So you need the skills, right? So it's skills matter for your reputation, right? It matters for the trust, right? So you need your skills to do things. So first thing, if you want to be an architect or a specialist or a developer or anything that you want to do, the very first thing that you need is start building your skills, right? So when you start building your skills, and you're going to start, right? That's how you start things. You start, right? And you're not going to be extremely good at it, right? That's why you need to be in a safe environment, because you can learn things and you're not very good at it, so you can try things out, right? So what would be a safe environment for architecture, for example? Maybe you're not going to architect the full system of your company, right? You might architect a little tool. You might architect something for you. You might architect a piece of software for a friend, right? That he's going to run his small company, for example, right? You can architect in a more safer place to build your skills, right? That's why we do testing, right? Because we can experiment with new technology. We can do all that in a safe environment, because if I make a mistake, the testing environment is going to pick that mistake before production does, right? So you have to practice your skills. Now, here is the thing, Nicola, that most people don't realize, right? As soon as you start practicing your skills, or even before, right? As soon as you start practicing your skills, you have to be visible, right? What do I mean by that? Like here, you come here, you ask questions, right? You go to events and you talk to people. You start learning these skills, and you start becoming visible. So you go to your company and go to the architect of your company and say, man, I love what you do, and I'd love to follow in your footsteps, right? What should I do? Right? So you talk to people, you become visible. you start telling people that you want to be an architect, or that you're practicing to be an architect, because that's going to help you, Mikola, to learn more, learn better. Make sense? Because the more you do, the better you're going to be, right? And so you start becoming visible immediately, because if you're visible, you start building your reputation, right? Because now people say, oh yes, Nikola wants to be an architect. He's not yet, but he wants to be an architect, right? And if I give you small things for you to do, and you do it, your skills improve, and I trust you more, right? And then you do more and more of that. So don't be waiting, Nikola, to eventually become an architect. The other way around. You start right now to be an architect, to architect small things, and talk about it, right? Go help people that never know what architecture is to learn what architecture is. The sooner you get visible, the more you advance in your skills, the more you advance your reputation, the more people trust you. Make sense? All right, just have a few more minutes, so I just want to make sure that I got all the questions here. Okay, so thank you for reading my response to Tara. Okay, good, Mary. I wasn't able to see the questions until now. Okay, awesome, no problem. That's great, Mary. Good to have you here, Mary. I was watching your talk from inside Vimix. I wasn't here in the platform either, right? Okay, so Mikola said absolutely. That's great. All right. So so T says our career in the company doesn't depend entirely on us. Of course, it does not. It does not, right? Your life does not depend entirely on you, T. That's a reality, right? You cannot control your situation in your company. You cannot control every situation in your life, right? Your life does not depend entirely on you. That's clear, right? For example, I had bad experience working in a big international company. My coworkers left me great reviews about my job for my promotion, but team lead left really bad reviews, right? Everyone need that. He's rude and doesn't speak with people with a proper respect, right? He could say me things like, you are annoying me with questions, right? Although I was only a junior at the time. And in the end, they promoted him for a better position, and I changed the project. How can we deal with such people in our work environment if companies values then hire above others? So that's a very, very important question, T, because there's a lot of times in our lives and a lot of times in our career that we're going to be in positions, right, where we dislike what's going on, right? I mean, you're talking about someone that's clearly rude, but look, you could have lots of reasons to not like your boss, right? You could have lots of reasons to not like the company you're working for, right? So it's not even that they're necessarily rude, right? They might be for different reasons, right? So for example, let me tell you this. The other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he joined this company, right? That they were applying this strategy called mob programming, right? So it's not pair programming, it's mob programming, where everyone does the software at the same time together, right? So, he was like, I cannot work in an environment like this. And I understand, right? Maybe you and me could not work in a place like this, right? So there's lots of reasons why you don't like your company. So here's what you need to do, T, because I just have 1 minute. I'm just going to say really quick. Here's what you need to do, T. You need to be very, very visible, right? In the market. So you get to choose the company that matches you, the boss that believes in what you believe, right? Don't settle yourself for bad places that you don't like to work on, right? Go find companies that believe what you believe. For that, you need people trusting you. You need to have a good reputation in the market. And then for you to have trust and reputation, you have to be visible. All right. So that's my suggestion to you, T. Look, my time is up, and I just want to finish this really quick. If you can access code4.life, right? Codes number 4.life. That's /blog. That's where I blog That's where you can join my main list. I talk about career every day, right? So so if you do that, what's going to happen is that you're going to get my email. That's also Bruno at code4.life, right? You can also follow me on Twitter, BR And by the way, if you go to Twitter right now and you access BR Javaman, that's me. My pinned tweet has a book that I'm giving for you, right? It's a book that's going to help you grow your career. So you can go there and you can download for free. The Best Developer Year is my book to help you grow your career. It's free there in my tweet. Okay. So thanks very much. So good to have it here with you. I see someone saying Bruno on the chat. No, so just so Mikola say absolutely. Thank you. Tara say thank you. Awesome. Good to be here with you. Thanks a lot. And I'll send it back to the team. Thanks everyone for organizing this great event. Great to be here with you. I wish I can be there in person next year. But if you're gonna join me in the mentoring, right? We're gonna meet in the next few weeks. It's gonna be awesome. Okay. Thanks a lot, T. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot, Bruno. Thank you so much. And you can stay with us in chat or stay for the ceremony of closing. So thanks a lot. Thanks for supporting us, for supporting Ukraine, and for so great speech.
Thanks a lot, Irina. Thanks a lot for you and all the team. Right, I know you guys are doing this in a very how to say non-ideal situation, at least, right? So, but thank you for putting the effort. Thank you for making this whole thing happen. And let me just give a shout out to my friend Vadim. Right, I really wanted Vadim to be here, and I messed it up. But Vadim is a software developer, right? And he's today in the military in Ukraine, and so his life is completely turned upside down right now. So he's been missing doing software development. But congratulations for all of you guys to do what needs to be done. Thanks a lot, Irina.